Hello everybody, I'm Gwen Campbell-Mindes. Welcome to Gwen's Bookish Ramblings. If you hear rattling in the background, that's probably my friend who is going to be doing rabbit-related activities. So we're back to Cat Who Books, finally. Well, sort of finally. I have a weird number of comments from people, actually just from one person that are spam, which I haven't left up, even though I haven't figured out how to get rid of them. I got rid of like 2 once, and then they never... You're not interested. Okay, so our book is The Cat Who Brought Down the House. And as we progress through this series, we are now dealing with, well, you can see that there is a parrot on the cover here, and that's because Thelma Thackeray, who is a supposed native of Moose County, as the flyleaf informs us, returns to Moose County, bringing with her several parrots, who amazingly do not swear. Well, wait, no, I think one of them might swear. I don't remember. I read this book like a week and a half ago, and because I have the memory of a goldfish, I've probably actually forgotten vastly important things from this book. Anyways, so Thelma comes back to Moose County, and she wants to open up a movie theater in memory of her father, who owned a movie theater. And there's a whole back and forth kind of at her expense about her naivete and insistence that her father made his fortune in potato chips rather than in bootlegging, which everybody who is a Moose County old-timer insists that it was bootlegging, and she insists that her father invented the low-fat potato chip in the 1930s. I don't know who was inventing low-fat potato chips in the 1930s, of all things, but that's her claim. And her nephew, Richard Thackeray, who she calls Dickie Boy, because his parents called him Dickie Boy, she hires him to run her theater club, her movie theater club, cinema club, however you want to put it, and the dice on the cover relate to the fact that he decides to start a gambling and pornography house, and the pornography is apparently just really, really serious stuff. Outre stuff. For Moose County, at least. Which, frankly, when they say that in the book, when they talk about how he was putting on pornography, which was going to leave Thelma desperate and unhappy with him and all kinds of stuff, I was just left wondering what this pornography was that was just such awful stuff that it was worthy of comment on its own. I mean, I haven't watched a lot of pornography, but, you know, pornography of the 2000s doesn't strike me as having been particularly more outre. Like, the book makes it sound like snuff films, and yet you know it couldn't possibly be snuff films. Anyhow, so, Thelma comes back, and she sort of makes herself the life of the town, and Qwillerish manages to, as he always does, start a rumor. Because in every single book, Qwillerish starts rumors. Like, practically every book. Or at least every book since he came to Moose County. Over and over again, he'll just talk to somebody and say, I heard a rumor that a thing is happening, and he'll just be making it up. And we also see the return of Qwillerish telling everybody he's going to write a book, which, as we all know, he never does. He never writes a book. I mean, eventually he gets around to writing a book, and as I've said before, we know this because Lillian Jackson Braun actually published a volume of those Moose County Tall Tales as its own separate thing. So he does eventually get around to writing a book, but honestly, I don't consider a compilation of everyone else's stories to be quite the same as actually properly writing a book. It's not quite the same thing. And yes, I'm not decrying the value of collecting stories, of collecting folk tales. I'm just saying there's a difference between transcribing someone else's words and actually coming up with your own. So Qwillerin starts a rumor that she might be related to, what was it? William Makepeace Thackeray? You all know that I don't actually, like, do any preparation. But yes, he starts a rumor just to start a rumor because he finds it entertaining to start a rumor. The book sort of it goes through not so much of a mystery, like the mystery and the mysterious death are actually Thelma's brother's death, Dickie Bird's father's death, and Richard Dickie Bird winds up having, turns out to have murdered his father, but it's almost not an issue through the whole book. We know that he's up to something through the whole book because Qwillerin doesn't like him and Coco doesn't like him, and that's usually pretty much a guarantee. The Psychic Mustache only makes 2 appearances in this book. Usually it makes more appearances. And I don't know, this book kind of meanders. It's a lot more character stuff. It's a lot of Qwillerin talking to Polly, and Polly complaining that libraries are not what they used to be, because time was libraries were about the books in the libraries, and these days they're all about, you know, audio collections and public activities and things that actually do tend to appall a lot of us who like libraries because libraries have books in them. Then again, I speak as somebody who, you know, likes museums because they're still and quiet and have exhibits with simple placards on them, and I'm really, really tired of massive exhibits with buttons and flashy lights, because if you need flashy lights to go to the museum, you should probably just be watching Walking with Dinosaurs or something. Which, again, not to knock Walking with Dinosaurs. I love Walking with Dinosaurs. I just think that it's not as enriching an experience as actually looking and contemplating things rather than watching flashy lights go past. I of course say this as somebody who can't actually watch a movie all the way through because I can't channel flip it, or doesn't like to go to plays because I can't channel flip during a play. Who'd have, you know, I did say at some point that these were rambles, didn't I? Anyway, so Qwillerin actively befriends Thelma Thackeray, and he actually acts as a go-between for a lot of people. He acts as a go-between for people who are hoping to get her to donate time or money to particular causes. He acts as a go-between for Thelma's assistant, who is a lovely young woman named Janice, who Thelma sort of plucked her up and took her under her wing, and Janice sort of came with Thelma and drove up there, up to Moose County with her from Hollywood. Janice's role in this is a very, very strange one, because she's not a guilty party. She's not a deeply dependent party. She's just a strangely faithful, constantly present party. There's a quality of naivete to her that is very, very odd, because you feel like maybe she's going to be a naive dupe, and she never is. And you think maybe she's going to turn out to be the one who kidnapped the birds, and she isn't. And you think that maybe she's going to murder Thelma, but she never does. And you think maybe she's going to turn out to be the one who murdered Richard, because you know Richard is steering to be killed by the end. And he is. He is killed by the end. Remember, this is an all spoiler zone. I don't care if you haven't read the book. Actually, I want to say something about spoilers. You may notice I don't have a lot to say about this book, but I'm going to keep talking anyways. I really don't care about spoilers, because unless a spoiler actually tells you everything about how a book got from the beginning to the end and all of its dialogue, or tells you everything about a movie, what does it mean? Okay, so you know that Han Solo dies at the end of the second most recent Star Wars movie. What does that tell you about the plot line of the movie? It tells you a character died. When everybody was told that Snape kills Dumbledore, that told us nothing. That told us nothing about Snape's motives. It told us nothing about how Snape got to the point of killing Dumbledore. It told us nothing about when in the book it happened. Okay, somebody took a picture of the page, so we knew it was on page, 8,000 and whatever. Yes, I've read the book. Yes, I know it's not 8,000 pages long. No, I'm not going to talk about Harry Potter unless this becomes popular enough that it's worth my while doing. And that one sentence tells you nothing. It doesn't tell you about the Deathly Hallows. It doesn't tell you about Slughorn. It doesn't tell you about Voldemort's plot. It doesn't tell you about anything. So, when people complain about spoilers, I'm constantly left baffled about how infuriated people get over it, because you can complain about a spoiler all you want, but unless that spoiler is a complete plot summary, it doesn't really tell you anything, because it has no context. Anyways, of course, this will spoil half the book for you, because I'm giving you all way too much context. This book is really the story of Qwillerin's interactions with Thelma Thackeray. And it the last little bit of this book, the last page, where Thelma has left him a message reading, "Thanks, Ducky, for everything." That's really very much the story of this book, because Qwillerin shows up and he takes Thelma around town to reintroduce her to things. He takes her to her brother's graveside. He talks to her about how to get along in the town. He helps her start dealing with her fear of cats. He is interested in her birds. He's interested in her movies. He's willing to get a membership to her film club because he wants to see one of the old films that she's going to be playing. And it's an interesting relationship, and it's kind of a pity that we don't see any more of it, albeit understandable, because Thelma Thackeray is an attention-getting person. She's fictionally attention-getting, but she's very, very attention-getting, and if she had stayed a regular in this series, she would have absolutely eaten up huge portions of it by virtue of sheer bombastic personality. So in some ways she kind of had to die, which I believe it's implied she commits suicide at the end because she just couldn't deal with the fact that her brother had been murdered by his much beloved son. And the fact that she wound up murdering Richard, Dickie Bird, out of just sheer anger over everything that he'd done. And I have less than 20 seconds left, starting right about now. So I guess I will sign out before I have to actually do a massive crunch. And I will see you all next week.